Welcome to the Massif Impact Show, where we interview people having massive impact on those around them. Today I'm joined by my co-host, Nate. Nate, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
It's
We're
good
pretty
to see you.
excited about this.
Good to see you here. What can people expect from the show?
Well, I think there's really, I see three objectives. Like the first is we want to have people on this show who have had a massive impact in some way, right? It could be in business, in entertainment, arts, whatever. But we want to know their story. I think everybody could seriously have a novel written about them. So I'm always curious to know about people who have had extraordinary success. Where'd you come from? How'd you get there? What challenges did you overcome? What'd you learn? What did you get good at? So those are the kinds of answers we're going to get on this show. But what we're also hoping for is for people who are maybe younger, wondering if they should roll the dice, take the leap, and become an entrepreneur themselves, or start a business or a charity, whatever it is. Give them some fuel to kind of fuel that fire and actually make that leap. The other part, the third objective, would be to understand some solid financial strategies and principles that may not be very well known to kind of the middle, even upper class, but they're sound, proven financial strategies. So there's going to be some financial education.
Yeah,
we're going to get out of this too.
That's great. I'm excited for this. When we started testing ideas of what we would name this firm and how we would approach the way we do wealth management, we were really looking for a name that could embody a bunch of those principles, right? And we came up with Massif, which is a word that refers to the mass of rock underneath the surface of the earth. It moves with the tectonic plates, but it stays firm. It's similar to what we do with these systems of wealth that we create, where they're long-lasting.
That's intentional. You didn't just misspell massive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. At first it was a misspelling, but then it became intentional. That's the story anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, we create these long-lasting systems of wealth where people can not worry about whether or not they're going to be able to continue impacting their communities, but at the same time, it's flexible enough to move with the environment. It's flexible enough to move as ecosystems change, or as environment changes, or politics or economics changes. So we're pretty excited about that. Why don't you tell us, how did you get involved? Let the viewers know how you ended up here.
Well, I'm here because with the conversations that you and I have had, I've been inspired to know that there are real solutions to problems that I've faced in my life. I grew up in a very, very poor household. We had a lot of financial struggles. My dad was great at what he did, but he was laid off quite a bit. We were on welfare, lost a couple houses, and I was always curious to know, what are those successful people doing? How do they do what they do? What are they invested in? And that kind of drove me to the financial services industry. So I became a financial advisor, but my eyes were always kind of set on the horizon. Like, what's the next level? Right. What's the next level of investing? What's the next level of business? And I've learned that there's just the top level is pretty fragmented, and it's hard to have a very high level of confidence in getting into that level, just because there's just not a lot of framework in place. So I've been referring clients out to people just because I didn't know that as a financial advisor there were solutions that I could be offering to my clients to get access to investments and financial strategies that I'm using myself.
Right.
But we've just learned that that's not the case. And Massif is kind of our response to that. We've created a system that will kind of streamline this highest level of financial planning and wealth management.
Right. So you mentioned that there are these advanced strategies and kind of other things that you were seeking. And why don't you tell us, what are some of those things? What are the things that the wealthy and powerful are getting into that the average investor cannot get into with their financial advisor?
Well, a good way to look at it is you ask yourself, well, how does a pension invest? How does an insurance company invest? The giant pensions and insurance companies and huge financial institutional investors are not buying mutual funds, right? A lot of them, they're getting into private equity deals, and there's so many different ways to be involved in private equity, but
Right.
there's incredible opportunities and stability, getting stability in a portfolio, getting the yield you need, incredible tax benefits that can be acquired by getting into that space. But that's where the highest players are.
Right.
And there's been this chasm that a lot of people just are having a hard time figuring out how to get over and get into that kind of arena where you can invest the way an insurance company is investing in a pension fund.
Yeah, when we started looking at this whole project really started 5 or 6 years ago. My wife and I sold our company, and we were looking for somebody to help us do what you're talking about, get into some of these more advanced allocations. And everybody we talked to could only handle our mutual funds, ETFs, stocks, bonds, and our real estate portfolio, our private equity holdings. They couldn't really address it. And that's when we decided to get into financial services. I thought I was going to show up and there'd be some magical system that the wealthy had that was working really well for them, and these big banks had it figured out. And that just wasn't the case. I got in there, worked with a family office group. The minimum investment amount for the clients was $50 million. And this is supposed to be the most sophisticated group in the world. And turns out there's a bunch of holes in their service model. There's a bunch of stuff that even they can't do and their clients don't get access to. And so I really set out to figure out how we can patch those holes and offer it to clients that have outgrown the traditional advisor system. The system that you're exposed to at all the big banks and big box retailers, right? So tell me a little bit more about what excites you about this project. Like, what are you looking forward to most when you bring people in here and you talk about the Massif wealth system? What is it that gets you going on this?
Well, at the end of the day, wealth ultimately is about, I think it's about liberty. It's about freedom. Just read an interesting quote. It said, the best thing money can do for you is help you not worry about money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's how the wealthy think, the very successful, is this isn't about, getting bigger numbers in your bank account or your brokerage account or your net worth. It's all about having the time to do the things you want to do on your terms with who you want to do them with, right? It's that freedom and flexibility. So you have to protect that, and you can protect that with asset allocation, being invested in the right things that are going to give you that level of protection. But it's not just what you invest in. It's what tax benefits and incentives are you able to bring to the table? If you're earning so much on your money and you have to share too much of it with the IRS, and it's not doing you much good. And I mean, from your own experiences how incredible how incredibly expensive some of these mistakes could be if you're not positioned correctly, exiting a company or coming into gains, and it could be a huge headache.
And it's tough because the knowledge gap is huge, right? Between those that know these strategies are so few, and then the people going through the experiences that could really benefit. These people could really benefit from this knowledge. There's this giant gap between those two groups, and that's really what we're trying to do, is bridge that gap for people and be able to approach their wealth, whether it's they sold a company or they have a really high cash flow business or whatever it is, and we can help them bridge that knowledge gap and act as their investment office on the back end so that they can go out and do what they care about.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about it.
Well, and I think if you look at the investments that the majority of people are working with, they're really driven by big banks and brokerages.
Right.
And so you're kind of at the mercy of their business model.
What they want. Yeah.
They're doing what works for them. Yeah. And it's not necessarily that they're trying to do anyone harm, but a lot of it is in order to kind of streamline how they do business and how they offer investments to the public. You're going to lose some of those investments. Are going to lose some of their savor. You're going to add some expenses and costs and inefficiencies to it. But again, you look at how those big institutions are invested. That's gonna be revealing. Take the biggest banks. What are they actually investing in? Not their own products.
Right. What can people expect from the show? What can they get out of the show?
This is going to be an incredibly educational experience. We're going to be looking into the lives of some of the most successful people in this country. understand where they came from, how they got to the level of success that they achieved, and what they learned. We're going to get an idea for some of their superpowers. They can even share some of those.
Right.
And I think that can also be a really motivational element for people who are thinking of, kind of taking the leap and doing something like that on their own. In addition to that, there's going to be some great education about, proven financial strategies and concepts, investment strategies, tax strategies, business planning solutions, and estate planning strategies. So we're going to get to some of the meat of that as well.
Stay tuned. We're going to be on all platforms. You should be able to find us on all social medias. We're really excited to share this project with you guys and hopefully give you some great ideas of how you can better your life and impact those around you. We'll see you soon.